Fantastic sharing. Now this segment is under Brother Paul Teck An. So over to Teck An and Eileen. Okay, over to you, Teck An, Eileen.
Thank you, Pastor Malcolm, and thank you very much, Pastor Bob and Dorothy, for really sharing your hearts today. And I really, the last message for every one of us is that may God help us to see when we bring others to Christ. And we really, really want to thank you for bringing every one of us here. The people that you see down here in this Zoom call, there may be 100 plus of us, and you'll be recorded and will be shared. That God is glorified as a result of that. And this morning session, the feedback session, what I really, really want to do is to have the people from the congregation here to ask some of the questions. But before that, I will just share a little bit of the past. Since it's Valentine's Day, I will share Penny to two, and I believe that it's very dear to you all, and many of us here in this church, especially the new generation, are not aware of it. Let me share the screen, okay? Okay, I'll just do a short introduction, and please, every church members, just prepare a question for Pastor Bob and Dorothy Evans, especially to get to know the works that he has done in Sarawak here and more so in Borneo. Pastor Bob Evans do not arrive Kuching first. I understand that he arrived in Sabah, that is the island of Borneo, that time in the 70s or maybe in the 60s, right? So basically, this is the one of the movie.
Shake it, baby. Come on and work it on out. England's top pop star Cliff Richard twists and shouts in To a Penny.
I have the chance to turn this over. Fitch's money, but thinking about it quite calmly, it's not really his until I hand it over.
A new Cliff Richard.
Round isn't over till you get back with the money.
Shallow, selfish, perfectly charming, hurling his defiance at the world in To a Penny.
You're right. I'll get some help.
No! Don't do anything.
I'm not to a penny, there's just one of me. I'm not to a penny, any fool can see. That when I hit the top, I'm gonna have my say. And here's a warning, Mr. World, don't get in my way.
No.
What is it with you?
A provocative glimpse of life and love along London's famous Maud Beat. A young man who believes the world owes him, and that's all he believes.
Where did I come from? Why am I here? Where am I going? Those are questions that young people are asking in their most serious moment.
To a Penny, a decidedly different story of love.
I guess this is a beautiful film trailer that is dedicated to Pastor Bob and Dorothy. Happy Valentine's Day story about love. And Two in a Penny is a very exciting movie that many of us here at First Baptist Church are not aware of. That was happening right here in Borneo, in Kuching, way back in 1970s, where this film was played every Friday. Can you imagine that? To a Penny, an inspiring story that is talking about the power of Christ that is changing lives. The question is, where am I here now and where are we going? And Pastor Bob Evans have actually been dedicated when he arrived down here in Kuching. I just heard Dorothy was sharing about God provides ways of how we reach out to people. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about evangelism. And let me go through a little bit of the history. Do you know who is the first convert here in Sarawak? It was on the 30th of June, 1970. And Pastor Bob Evans arrived Kuching from Sandakan, as Dorothy had just mentioned a while ago, on 20th of June. So 3 days later, there is the first convert. Can you imagine that? I just really want to have that feelings of how jealous they are in terms of preaching the word of God in Kuching. And anyone here know who is the first convert? Let me share a bit of background about this woman, this lady then. She was a sales girl selling furniture in Padungan. I guess Pastor Bob Evan arrived together with Dorothy, was scouting around for some furniture, and he arrived at this place. And one of the things, as I heard as I was interviewing this woman, is that there was a hand bills that you passed to her that attracted her to go to your home. That is at 131 Green Road, and she accepted in Christ's Day. Isn't that amazing? Can I just see from the crowd here whether anyone know who is this woman? Anyone? Let me see from the chat box. Anyone can tap on the chat box.
Eva Go.
Eva Go. Who else? Yeah, that is exactly. That is Eva Go. All right. She is currently with the Chinese FBC. Can you imagine this? More than half a century ago. All right. So this is Pastor Bob Evans together with the lovely wife. The history of First Baptist Church go all the way back on the 28th of June 1970 when both of them arrived as a foreign mission board. And guess what? The place that they stay, the center they set up is called Kuching Gospel Center. All right, Kuching Gospel Center. And that particular time, 13 of them arrived in Kuching at the mission rented semi-detached house at 131 Green Road. And I'm trying to look for the old photograph. I can't find it. Maybe Pastor Evan would have it. We'd love to keep it as a history. Together, Canadian Southern Baptist Church, Robert Banchan's family of 5, and Pastor Evans' families of 6 of them together, and a local couple. All right. And I'm not sure whether any one of you know where is 131 Green Road. Anyone here know? Any? Okay, let me just share with you where is the location, right? So that the next time when you were going around Jaran Green, at that time in the 70s, I guess Pastor Bob Evan will have a very vivid picture that it was just a green land of grasses, right? And this is the location. Anyone know where is that? It's just behind, next to Chongling building. Chongling apartment right now. There is a Magic Rose right now at the corner. That is the place where Kuching Baptist Gospel Center started. Isn't that amazing? We'll get Pastor Bob Evan to share a little bit in a short while. Maybe before that, I'll just have the floor to come up with any question before I have some question ready, just in case nobody respond, all right? Do any one of you have any question pertaining to that you want to ask Pastor Bob Evans and Dorothy Evans to with a short introduction? Anyone? Just type on the chat box or just unmute yourself and shout it out.
There's one question in the chat box, Teck An.
Okay, let me see.
From Brother Song.
Oh, Brother Song. He said, Pastor Bob, what is the most challenging time you faced throughout your work in Sarawak? Can we pin Pastor Bob this question? Let me stop sharing.
Okay. Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, wow. I have to go back 50 years to remember that. You know, by the time you get 85, you forget a few things. And so, but I don't know. Actually, I was on my way to Sabah and came through Kuching and saw that they were without a Baptist church. And so we went on, and it was a few years later, but Kuching was just a welcoming place. I had studied Mandarin, and they seemed to understand my Mandarin a little bit better than anywhere else. And so I just felt quite at ease and welcoming on the part of the people in Kuching. And so it was a great blessing to go there and to see how the people responded so quickly to beginning the Baptist work there in Kuching.
Thank you, Pastor Bob Evan. It's interesting. I see on the chat down here we have Jun Jack that was renting that house. That was the Gospel Center way back in 2000. rented the same place. I believe that Chung Chek, when you live in that particular home, is you can feel the great blessings down there. Any more question from anyone from the floor down here? Is very interesting. Like just now, the movie that you show was a movie that was played every Friday night, and at that particular home, and also at other places. And I understand that when you have a bigger event, when you're doing a bigger evangelistic event, you will have it at Rumah Dayak. Is that true?
Right,
Maybe
right.
Pastor Bob will share a little bit why you brought that idea of having this film instead of a video. That time there's no TV, and how people respond.
Well, I guess like everywhere else, the people in Kuching, they were curious about things in America. And of course, I think too, Cliff Richard was British, and being Kuching and Malaysia being coming, you know, about Britain, they were interested to see this. And he was a very popular film star at that time. So we just had that. It really fit the occasion right then, and really opened a lot of young people's hearts by showing that film at that time. Dorothy, say something?
I think we showed it 2 nights in a row in the Rumah Dayak, and I think it said 200 people maybe. And so many people came that the parking lot outside was full. People could not get in, and they stood outside to watch. And we stayed outside in the parking lot and gave out tracts to those that couldn't get in. And about 3 months later, someone came to our house at 131 Green Road, and she had gotten a tract that night, stuck it in a book and forgot about it. And 3 months later, she found the tract and came to know the Lord through. But a lot of people were exposed to Christianity, to the fact that there was a Baptist Gospel Center, and it was a way of making us aware, people aware of us being there. And it helped get people to coming and hearing the gospel.
Wow, that is a very creative way. I like what Pastor Bob Evans was saying, that, you know, it is something from foreign, you know, like the goodies, like the chocolate was something that is very premium. Going to watch a movie at that time where there's no television, right? I can imagine how people, when they were invited to a movie, they would dress up nicely, maybe putting on a tie, maybe.
Some yes, and some no. Mostly were young people. Mostly were young people who came to the movie. Yes.
Okay. And it is in a big screen, white screen, like what we used to do at the church projector.
It was a big,
huge screen.
Indoor or outdoor?
Indoors.
Inside.
It was inside. Yes.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about how is the response when Billy Graham, especially for this Penny to Two, is actually a production by Billy Graham's Evangelistic Association,
right.
The Worldwide Film. Tell us a little bit about how do the people respond way back in the 70s, but I understand that there is a lot of foreigner down here in maybe they are missionaries down here in Kuching. Tell us how is the response by the people of Kuching that time when they hear the word of God?
Well, as we say, they the young people really went to the movie, and we use this a way to go to contact them later on at schools. Now, I did a lot of teaching, not teaching, but sharing. What was it, Dorothy? The way after school Bible studies. I would go and talk and meet a lot of young people, and we were able to invite them, and they came. A lot of them would come. And also another thing you haven't mentioned yet, usually on Friday nights, we would show not only this movie, but we would also have a table tennis, ping pong. Of course, you Chinese, you're fantastic at playing ping pong. And so the young people, many of them didn't have anywhere to really play around their house. And so they, on Friday evenings, invite them to our house. We would play ping pong, show movies, and have refreshments. And we always had our compound. full of young people on Friday night. That was another way in which, so not only the movies, but the ping pong times, refreshment times, and then a lot of meeting one-on-one people.
Wow. Keep the question coming. I have not seen any question coming in. All the questions asked by me, but I got this question. When you said that you are bringing this Cliff Richard down to Borneo, all right?
Yes.
Do the people in Kuching or in Borneo thought that Christianity is a Western, what I call religion?
Yeah, many, especially the older generation, they certainly felt that way. But of course, young people, they were very curious, and again during that time, they liked a lot of things American, and so they were interested to know about us Orang Putih and what we were like, and of course we would have them into our home. They come into our house and played with our children, and our children played with them. And it was very responsive as the young people. And of course, knowing the young people, you have an entry into the homes. And so we would go into their homes and met their parents, their old grandparents. And I think that was the response of the people. And that's why the work went so well, so quickly in Kuching itself. Dorothy?
Yeah, I was going to say that was true across Malaysia when we went as young missionaries. The young people were open to the gospel. They were seeing Buddhism did not really meet their needs. And then they were attracted by all these things, and you could get them. And because those young people, and that includes many of you who are sitting there tonight listening, you accepted the Lord. And when you got married, you married another Christian, you established a Christian home. And across the years, we saw that testimony is what brought the grandmothers and grandparents to say, wow, Christianity really does change lives and makes a difference. And so before we left Malaysia, we were seeing a lot of people 70, 80 years old accepting the Lord for the first time because they had watched the young people be faithful and Jesus work in their lives. And so it was really neat. We got to be in on kind of the ground floor, touching young people's lives, but it's wonderful to see how they went on to touch their parents and grandparents. Each of you all have a lot of testimonies like that yourselves, I'm sure.
Amazing. And it is really great to know that you all are coming down here to Kuching and really from a foreign land in America, coming down here just to dive into the local culture, speaking the local dialects. We have a question down here from the floor. That is from Anthony. He said, Pastor Bob, did you ever manage to learn local dialects like Mandarin or Iban? But I would say yes. I have heard Pastor Bob Everett, maybe today, Iban as well, maybe together with Dorothy. Maybe share with us a little bit, 跟我们分享一点你的华语。
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Actually, we started out our missionary career in Singapore studying Mandarin. And so we studied 2 years, but Dorothy had a jump on things some of you may or may not know. Well, many of you know, Dorothy was born in China. She is a fourth generation missionary, 四代 stranger. So she didn't have to learn the language. She already knew most of it. I'm the one who had the hard times. So, but no, her knowing it, and the people were drawn to hear this Orang Putih couple, the wife having been born in China. And so immediately there was a connection there. So that was how the Lord went ahead of us and did this kind of thing. And so I don't know whether that answers your question or not. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And through the just daily in and day out, I pick up a little bit of Bahasa once or a while, maybe studied 2 or 3 months at one time, but not much. So it was market Malay is what I said.
It's not totally true. He had a teacher for a while when we were in Kuching. And the man was not a believer. He had a different religion. Bahasa was his national language. And he came and taught Bob quite a lot, and even translated some sermons for Bob from English into Bahasa so he could read them, but he could read them pretty good, you know, and we don't know how much of an influence that had on that man, but it was an opportunity, and he was quite willing to help Bob do that.
And although later on we mixed and mingled with the Iban people, I never could pick up much Iban. I know Makai and also like that. But I felt that Mandarin was hard enough, and then the Bahasa was okay. I could at least get in other words, I could find my way around Sarawak with what little bit of Bahasa Malaysia that I knew.
Very good. That is very inspiring. In fact, I've been having a hard time trying to share Hawaii.
Yes, for me it was very difficult.
Yeah. And I understand that when you arrived down here in Kuching, that is 28th of June, 1970. Tell us what was
that was when we had our first service.
We arrived
and we arrived the Tuesday before.
Okay.
And so our first Sunday in Kuching, we were able to have, as you mentioned, we had our service there and had there were 13 of us there. And so in June 28, 1970.
Wow. And tell us, what was your age when you arrived here in Kuching? Your age, Dorothy, and your children. How young were they? How young were you all when you arrived?
Well, I was thinking about this just while. I think I was in my mid-30s because I'm 85 now, and that was 50 years ago. So okay, it's about 35, and of course Dorothy is let her tell about her age, and she knows that she remembers the age of the children too, ages of our children too. So
yeah, I think I was 33 and he was 34 and a half, I think. He's a year and a half older than me. And our children, our oldest daughter was 11 and our second daughter was 9. And then we had twin sons who were 7 when we arrived in Kuching.
And do you homeschool them?
I did a lot of different things. When we first got there, the 3 youngest children went to lodge school for up until they were 9 years old. And the lodge school met in an old house. It was not the big school it is today.
Down from Sarawak Club.
Yeah. Our oldest daughter was too old to go to lodge school. She went to St. Mary's when we first got there. And then our second daughter, 1 year in lodge school, and then she went to St. Mary's. When our boys were ready to leave lodge school, they were quite mischievous little boys, twins, and could get into lots of trouble. And I didn't feel comfortable sending them to St. Thomas, which is where they would have gone. So we homeschooled all the kids the last 2 years we were there. It just worked better for them because they're Americans. They had to come back to an American school system. So we had to keep them up with what they would need to know on this side of the world. But we did okay. It was not always easy. We also, part of the time, homeschooled a couple of other of the missionary children. Pastor Yarnell's youngest daughter and Pastor Clark's daughter studied with our children for a while.
Yeah. Thank you so much for inconveniencing yourself to bring all your children down here and to live start lives down here. And there is a question down here by Wong Hao Tung and Trillian. He said the question is that what helps you both to keep going when the times were challenging? And I guess a little bit was shared a while ago by Dorothy. Share with us. Today's message is such a wonderful message with the situation that we are presented with, that you have just shared, which is good. We talk about the problems, the solutions, the results, and what was your challenges that you're facing, and how do you face it in the earlier years of your missionary works down here?
Well, I think behind it all was a sense of God's leadership into missionary service to begin with. By the way, we were involved in missionary service for about 37 years. And so, is that right? And so I think that was behind it all. And then he just led us into Borneo. We studied the language in Singapore. We're familiar with all the churches there, but a Pastor Charles Morris, some of the folks there in FBC may have heard that name. I'm not so sure, but anyway, he was the one who introduced us to Sabah. And then, as I said earlier, I had a heart burden for Kuching. Once when I was leaving, going from Singapore over to Sabah to investigate where we were when we finished language study, where we would serve. And I went through Kuching. And at that time, I said, Kuching seemed, the Kuchingites, the people from Kuching, were sort of open to my stumbling Mandarin and welcomed me. And I just felt, and I actually, then whenever I went back to Singapore to my wife and family, I told my wife, I said, I just have a feeling that one day the Lord's going to open the door for us to serve in Kuching, because I was with actually the wife couple that were with us in our first service. They were the only Baptists around that we knew of. And so they were certainly interested in us coming and trying to begin Baptist work in Sarawak. And it was a challenge, but we were used to it. And we just have been able to see the Lord work everywhere. He's always gone before us. And it hasn't been us. It has been him and for his glory.
Yeah. Maybe Dorothy, you'd like to say, as a wife, supporting?
Well, we each had a strong call from God to foreign missions, apart from being husband and wife. In fact, that's one thing that drew us together, because we had that same call. And when you go, wherever you go to serve the Lord, but certainly if you go to another country and you take your family there and you leave family here, there are a lot of times when you'd like to quit and go home, so to speak, to your home country. You get frustrated or tired, or there's family problems, things like that. And those times are when you go back to that original call, which is for me very, very clear. And I think for Bob too, a certain time, a certain date when we knew God had called us. And when you know that, just like our salvation experience, you're not going to go back on it just because you're having a rough day, And so to know how you stand with the Lord and what he's asked you to do, that keeps you going on until emotions or other things catch up.
That is very.
We're only human. We're all human. We have to deal with problems in life.
Yes, that is very inspirational. We are going to be finishing off the interview in just another maybe 3 minutes. We have a lot of questions, Pastor Bob Evans and Dorothy, and I really enjoyed this session, getting to know a little bit more about you all. And there was a question which is very pertinent, is about Bible study. It's from Singy. He was asking a question: how do you create the interest for people to come for Bible study?
Well, we just knew them personally. And of course, they knew who we were. They knew what we stood for. And so coupled with their interest, along with our willingness to engage them, it just turned out that they became open. Let's see, about our original, of course, you saw the picture of Eva Go a while ago. And Eva, somehow or another, we were able to go to her home, and her mother just was tremendous. Since then, her mother has become Christian. She's there in the Chinese section, but they just welcomed us into their home. And so we would go there every Thursday night and would do Bible study. And the folks who came, again, most of them were young people, but they were hungry and interested in learning about the Bible. And that's the way it happened.
And the meaning of life too, why am I here? Is there really a God? And for us as foreigners, we have, in one sense, an extra benefit. People want to know, why in the world are you here? you know, why did you leave America and come here? You know, that's always an open door. So
Not so much today, nowadays, as it was then.
it was then, and our children were an open door. You know, they were different, and people like to see them, and it just gives you an opportunity to start talking.
And so actually, I noticed Eva just logged in just now, and
You got to
they,
get her to do something.
I guess the success or the effectiveness of the Baptist work there in Kuching is due in a large part to Eva and her family. And we have always been grateful for her. And the fact that when we met her 50 years ago and she came to know the Lord, and still 50 years later, still honoring the Lord. This is one of the results, one of the blessings of service, you know, to see that people have endured for 50 years in the Lord's work. So
Amen. I think, yeah, I just saw Eva coming. I don't think we are going to let her go, right? Just get Eva just to prepare for a little while, just to stay. You see, like I was talking to Eva last night, it was just a very fruitful, you know, conversation, getting to know what was done in the past. And I understand that in the Bible study, Karen came and accepted Christ. Great to hear that your mom accepted Christ. They are still here after 50 years old. So whatever that you have leveled, whatever that you have sown, it have not been in vain, because God is in it.
Right.
It's fantastic. Eva, are you there, Eva? Eva, we would love to have you as the first convert in Sarawak to share a little bit about your experience with these two lovely couple, Pastor Bob Evan and Dorothy. Eva, are you there? Can someone unmute Eva? Put her on the spotlight if you don't speak.
she's very shy. She may not talk.
Eva, would you share with us something just from your heart, not prepared at all, because I don't expect her to dial in as well. Just share from your heart your feeling about the work that Pastor Bob Evan and Dorothy have done 50 years ago. And just share with us from your heart.
She is still muted.
Yeah, can the host unmute her? And
She
put
has
her,
to do it herself.
yeah, I think the host.
like we were.
Eva, can you call Eva? Try.
Yes, she's unmuted now.
Hi, Eva. Are you there, Eva?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
loud and clear.
You like to see?
Can you turn on your video, Eva?
I'm a bit slow now. Okay.
Take your time.
I on the mic now. I need to open the video. You mean?
Yes, that's right.
So sorry. I'm a bit nervous. So it's.
Don't worry.
Don't worry. Take your time. Take your time.
Speaking to Eva last night was such an inspiration.
Yay.
Eva, let's can the host spotlight Eva?
Eva, can you turn your handphone sideways? Turn your handphone sideways. Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
We have a full view of you.
Good. Eva, you looks great. Share with us what was your experience in the 70s, where you have Two and a Penny that you shared with me, and how have Pastor Bob and Dorothy have influenced your life and your family lives, and what have you have seen for FBC?
You have to unmute yourself, Eva. You have to unmute. Yeah. You have to unmute. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
Pastor Evans, Mrs. Evans, I'm
Hello.
so happy that I can see you both.
Wow.
I'm so happy that in 1970, when I was just a young girl, you brought me to the church and you bring me to know Christ. I'm so happy that the Lord is my savior, and it has been with me from the day I know him until now. He never leave me, and he never forsake me.
Amen.
Yeah, and then yeah, and then I'm so happy that Pastor Evans used to come to have a big trip. I mean, from US to Sabah to Brunei and then to Kuching. Whenever Pastor Evans is in Kuching, I have the chance to meet him, and we do share, and then we talk a lot. Yeah, Pastor, thank you very much.
That's okay. You don't have to say anything else, Eva. You've said enough. Thank you so very much.
Good to see you, Eva.
We love you in the Lord.
Maybe
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you. I'm not a good talker, so I'm also run out of words.
You did great.
Fantastic. Pastor Evans, Eva, 50 years later, still with the church. Yeah, Eva, go ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
Eva, you can continue.
I don't think she wants to continue.
Since Eva is going to answer by giving appreciation, maybe Pastor Bob and Dorothy, share with us what you see in her the first time when you meet her at Padungan as a sales girl.
Well, actually, like she says, she was just a young girl.
Selling
about 7, huh?
Selling chairs.
She was selling chairs. I went to actually it was the Hollywood Furniture Store. And so she was the clerk there, and I engaged her. I don't know whether I bought any chairs or not from her.
You did.
Yes, I did buy. Dorothy says I bought some chairs for our gospel center, and at the time I gave Eva a tract or handbill and invited her to our house, and actually invited her to the young people's meeting. And I believe the next Friday night she came. And okay, Dorothy will tell this story.
Because we had that first meeting on the 28th, but she did not come on that Sunday, that first meeting. But she came to our house on Tuesday, the 30th of June. She was coming home from work, riding her bicycle, and she came up to the door and came in and sat down. And that was the day she accepted the Lord. She was hungry and ready to hear the gospel, and she didn't leave our living room until she had asked Jesus into her heart. And she and Susan,
Karen.
No, not Karen.
Another family, Susan.
Carol was Eva's best friend.
Yeah,
Carol Sim.
Carol Sim, and our 3 youngest children. They were all baptized at the same time at Christmas that year. Eva and Carol and Cindy and Mark and Mike. Yeah.
Very good.
Oh,
really love to continue with the conversation with both of you. Maybe we'll find another time, get all the Baptists together to hear your story. And I love to continue with the conversation. There are still a few more questions on the chat box down here. But I'm going to pass over the time to the presider, Dr. Chen, Ken Chen, and every one of you can still continue to stay on to have a time of mingling. But I just want to end with 1 Peter 4:10. The reason why when I pick up this particular verse is that when I see Pastor Bob Evans and Dorothy at your age to come down to Borneo, it's really an inspiration to every one of us. Even right now, to see you speaking is an inspiration to us already. It says that let us not become weary in doing good. For the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Thank you for not giving up on us.
And I'm hoping that maybe COVID will die down and things will open up and I can visit Kuching again. Okay. And
okay. Over to you, Brother Ken Chen.